Hello, I'm Dylan Bryant, and today we're joined by co-host Tyler Greene.
How you doing? We have here today Glendale Community College assistant head coach and defensive coordinator Lester Towns. How you doing, Coach?
How you doing? Good to see you. Thanks for having me.
So, why don't we ask you about your long-term career, or your career in football, and how long you've been playing and coaching, and just something about your background?
I grew up here locally, so I grew up in Pasadena. I had the opportunity to get a scholarship to University of Washington. After my playing time at University of Washington, I went on and got drafted to the Carolina Panthers. Played 5 years for Carolina. Went to Arizona, spent a year in Arizona, and then I finished my career in Miami and retired in Miami. During that time, after that time, I still was in transition, trying to decide what I wanted to do with my career after football. And a good buddy of mine asked me if I wanted to try out coaching. I knew coaching the profession, you had to travel a lot, you're gone all the time, you're away from family, but it was something that intrigued me. So I did an internship with the Carolina Panthers and loved it. And ever since then, I've been coaching ever since. So that happened immediately after I retired. Since then, after I retired, I reached out to one of my former coaches, Nick Saban, who was in Miami when I retired. And at the time, he was coaching at the University of Alabama. And so he offered me a job at University of Alabama. So I spent 5 years at University of Alabama and then left there and took a coaching job at Portland State University. Coached there for a few years, and then after that, left there, got my master's, and came here to junior college.
Awesome. So if we could just go a little bit more in depth on coaching, I was wondering if you can kind of tell us your coaching style and just kind of hear how you, what you preach to the players right now.
I think the biggest thing is, I think for me, I think I've grown a lot since I started coaching. When I started coaching, of course, I just did what I knew. I did how I was trained.
Yeah.
You make a mistake, you correct the mistake, you go out and you try and do it over repetitive and try and fix the mistakes until you master it. And so for me, what I try and do is I try and take my experience as a former player and try and put myself in the player's shoes. And so sometimes when you're coaching, sometimes, of course, I'm a perfectionist. I want everything to be perfect the first time, and I know, but I want the players and everyone to understand the importance of trying to strive to be as perfect as you can. Even though it may not be perfect, you need to study, you need to prepare, and try your best to be as perfect as you can. And the mistakes will happen, but we can correct them if you show the effort. So a lot of times, I take my past experiences, I take my experiences as a parent, and then I look at the new generation of kids and I try and blend all that together. And so sometimes I'll lose patience, but at the same time as parents, we have to regain that and go, okay, let's reset, let's back up a little bit and let's try it again. So there's different styles that I've tried to incorporate in coaching, but I don't think there's a perfect way. I just try and be me. I don't try and emulate anybody, but I think I've taken a bit from everywhere I've been, whether it's Nick Saban or in my time in NFL with different coaches in NFL. But I try and blend all that together to what you have here, which is me, a person who demands a lot from the players. I demand a lot. All I ask is they work hard. They work hard, they give 100%, and they study. They put in the time and study. If they want to do this is what they want, then let's be good at it.
So has becoming a parent kind of changed your coaching style over the years?
I would say yes. Just I think as a coach, you have to understand who your players are. And so one, you want to try and get to know your players because all of them come from different backgrounds. They've all grown up different ways. They all have different learning styles and abilities. And so as a parent, it's the same thing. You have different kids, and when you have different kids, every kid's not going to be the same. So when you raise kids, you find out, how to relate to that child, that one child. So each player, at times we have anywhere from 80 to 100, players on the field. And sometimes it's a little hard to try and narrow down every single one of them. But for the most part, you start to get to know players. You know players that you can really push, and you know the ones that if you push them, they may shut down on you. And that's not what we want to do. We want to make sure we're in an atmosphere where we have positive coaching. So sometimes there's that fine balance where you want to push them, and then you have to know when to back off. And so I think that's probably the biggest thing. Just, as I coach, I have to do a good job of knowing my audience, knowing who my players are, and knowing what I can get out of them. I think that's what makes a good coach. That's how you can push them to be the best they can be.
Okay. And you played at the you played at the Division I level, you played in the NFL, and now you're coaching at JUCO. What are some of the biggest differences that they have between all three of those levels?
Oh gosh, I think the biggest thing is technique. So in each level, of course, when you start in high school, you have a couple all-star players on the team. It doesn't matter what team you are. There's going to be one or two or a few that are on the team. And then once you get to college, there's a little bit more. And then once you get to NFL, everybody was great at their high school. But what sets everyone apart is technique. Who has the best technique? Who's doing everything the correct way? And so you start to see the leaders that emerge, the ones that show up on time, the ones that put in extra work, the ones that work a little harder. You start to see guys that work a little bit harder than others. You start to see people, everything starts to get separated. The lines you can really see it. And once you get to the NFL, you can see it right away. You look and you can see that guy's a professional. He knows how to work. He shows up every day. He knows what to do. And sometimes in young athletes, you can see them when they're young. You can see the young athletes, even in the Little League. You can see them like, God, that little kid works hard, or he has really good technique, or whatever. You can see the work ethic. And kids sometimes, and it's funny, when I look at kids sometimes I can go, oh, he's going to be good. He's going to be good. And then you see the ones where you're like, he needs to be pushed, or you got to be careful, just different ways. So just trying to find different ways. But the difference between the three levels, I would say, would be technique. Technique is the biggest thing, and then preparation.
Okay. So I know that you bounced around a lot in your career and all that. Must not have been easy, but how does it feel now to be coaching so close to your hometown?
Oh, it feels good. I didn't expect to come back home. My thought process when I left high school when I was 17, when I graduated, was that's it. I'm not coming back to California. I'm done. There's so many. Of course, LA, California, where I'm from, is beautiful here. It's beautiful, but there's so many other beautiful places that I've experienced and had the opportunity to experience. So coming back here has been awesome. My family's here. My whole family, my brother, my mom, dad. So my whole family here. So now when we have family get-togethers, I'm right there with them. I can go to family get-togethers now. I'm here. I can see all the relatives. But being here coaching, I think the biggest thing is the players see me as just like them. I just grew up right here. I was just like you. I was sitting in those chairs. I was running in this heat. It was the same thing. I think the biggest thing is they have to learn how to set themselves apart. And so they ask me, what did you do for fun? I'm like, I did. Now, I had practice. So a lot of times I would go home so I can get ready for practice or the game or whatever. And a lot of times I didn't have time to mess around because I was too busy all the time. And I felt like if I wasn't busy, if I didn't play football, it probably would have led me in a different direction. But I think football kept me focused, and I had something to focus on, and it kept me busy, and that's where my energy was all the time.
So, can you tell us a little bit about the team and the personnel and how your arrival as a former NFL player has helped recruiting and helped to change the mentality of the program of the football team?
I think the biggest thing is they don't know what to expect. They don't know what's out there, and so them coming here, a lot of them come from different backgrounds as far as different high schools, the way they were coached, the way their coaches allowed them to get away with certain things, and now coming to Glendale. And what we try and do at Glendale is we want to create an atmosphere that prepares them for Division I. We want to set that atmosphere so when they have the opportunity, or if they go, they know what it takes to be a Division I athlete. And so our standards are high. I think the most important thing that we preach right now is academics. Without academics, you guys cannot play. I will tell them, you cannot play football if you don't go to school. If I catch anyone walking around and they're supposed to be in class, you will not play. So number one, go to class, get your education, because football, the career in any sport doesn't last forever. And a lot of these players, just like I did, you think it's going to go on forever. You don't know, you don't know when that time's going to happen. But for everyone, there's a countdown. The clock has started. And so what we try and do is make sure that academics is number one. Focus on your career so you can provide for your family when you're done. That's number one. But while you're here, we want to teach you how to be leaders. We want to teach you how to be successful business people. We want to teach you how to be good brothers, sons, uncles, cousins, whatever you are, husbands, wives, or whatever you are. We want to teach you that. We want to teach you how to do that, and there's a way to do it. And I think the biggest thing is, one, we try and make sure we hold them accountable for what they do. We want to make sure that they're held accountable, and then they're responsible for their actions. So if there's anything that they know our team rules and they know what our expectations are, when we try and make sure we follow those rules just like you would as a parent, and you break those rules, you're going to be on punishment, and there has to be follow through on our end. And so, which means sometimes you may have to bench a guy because he didn't follow the rules, where in high school he may have been able to get away with certain things, and now you can't. Just the study habits, being able to watch film, study your opponent, know your opponent, becoming a smarter player. Some of those things, as far as discipline, everything we do is discipline. Of course, there's repetition, but it's discipline. You have days where just something as simple as putting your hand behind the line. We get ready to run every day. Our deal is always yell out every day. You guys probably can hear me across campus yelling hands behind the line. And you don't know how many times people put their hand on the line before we start running. They always do it. They just, when they get tired, the brain shuts down. So we want to push them and put them in game-like situations where they are tired, and then they have to focus and they have to think and they have to execute assignments when they're tired. And so a lot of those things you learn at the next level. So when you get to the D1 level, you got to lift, you got to work out, you got to watch film, you got to go to school, you got to do all those things. And you still got to be able to perform at the next level. So a lot of them, they come in with excuses of, Coach, I got to work today, or I have homework. That's the biggest one. I have homework. I can't come to practice today. I have a paper due. That's due tomorrow. And I always tell them that's unacceptable. You should be able to get your assignment done. Don't wait till the last minute. Make sure you prepare in advance. Make sure time management is good. And prepare in advance because you knew you had the assignment maybe a week or two ago. So a lot of them, they don't understand that. And that's probably the biggest thing that they don't understand when they get to college is the time management. Once you get to college, being able to manage your time. Now you only go to class twice a day. Before you were in school from 7:30 until 3 o'clock. Now they go to school from 10:45 to 2 and they're done. So in the morning, like, what did you do today? A lot of them, they sleep in, they're not getting their homework done, they're not studying, they're not doing anything. So when they get home, they're tired and they can't get their homework done. So just trying to show them the right way to do things. And that's probably the hardest part right now, getting them all to buy in and do it the right way.
Okay, so kind of staying on the topic of the team, how do you feel about the season so far?
I think guys are battling hard. I think every year the chemistry of the team is going to be different. Every year it's different. And I think we have a lot of talent on our team. It's just trying to, because of turnover, and this is probably something I didn't mention earlier, at the Division I level, you don't have the turnover as fast. At the junior college level, the turnovers every year, every other year, you're getting guys trickling in. So the chemistry is the hard part. Trying to build that chemistry every year, starting all over from scratch every year has been a challenge that I haven't been used to. But at the end of the day, I think if we start early, when we start doing recruiting and we work all off season and we get the guys to show up during the off season and they start to bond and gel, and then you push them and you push them mentally during that time, I think that's when they start to bond as opposed to wait for the season to start. So right now, I think our issue is just, us trying to bond as a coaching staff and as a team, everyone bond together to get a win. And I think the expectations of players sometimes when there's lack of trust, whether it be lack of trust from other teammates or lack of trust from coaches, things don't go as well. But I think once everyone buys in and the trust factor, they start to believe in what we're trying to do and what we're trying to accomplish, I think we'll take off. And last week, even though we lost, I think last week was the first step in the right direction. They played their butts off last week, and it's probably our best game of the year. It's probably the hardest I've seen them play this year. And so I think it's something to build off of, and we're trying to roll into tomorrow's game, rolling in with that same mindset, keeping it rolling, keeping everything going, and build from that. So, yeah.
And speaking of the season, you have what are some of the goals you have moving forward for this season and next season and the season after that?
You guys know how it works. I'm sure you guys have done this a long time or for a little while. You always take it one game at a time. And then each year is different. So for me right now, it's just my focus is on this season right now. And even short term, even shorter than that, my focus is on tomorrow's game. So expectations right now, the team knows, and we talk about this all the time, is win the conference. That's our #1 goal. And so right now we've just played 3 games already. We have another one tomorrow, 4th game. It's our last non-conference game before we start conference. And the first 4 games, I know guys are frustrated right now. We're 0-3. But the frustration, when guys get frustrated, we have to remind them, like, wait a minute, what's our goal? What's our goal? Our goal is to win conference, not to win the 4 preseason games, but it's to win our conference. So after this week, the conference is 0-0, and we'll have a fresh start, and we can build from the first 4 games and go from there. But our #1 goal right now is to win conference. That's it. That's all we're trying to do.
Well, thanks, Lester, for taking your time to be here today. It was great having you. Good luck this season.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I enjoyed it. Thank you. Thank you. Enjoyed it. Thank you.
So thanks for listening. If you liked the interview and you want some more, you can follow us on Facebook at GCC El Vaquero, on Twitter at GCC_ElVac. Instagram is l.vaquero.gcc, and follow us on Snapchat at elvac.gcc. Thank you.